I've known Marilyn for decades, both from her service to my dad, and then the first day I walk in the House of Delegates, and there she is with that beautiful smile, great cackling laugh, which always amused me. Those brownies she used to make at the end of session, always loved to dig into those. But even as I've been here in Washington, anytime I called Marilyn, she always had the answer. She was such an incredible, incredible person. So I have her address and her phone number in my contacts. And I thought about it and I thought, I'm not going to delete this because I bet if I called her, she might just pick up. We sure will miss her.
Hello, I'm Delegate Bill Anderson. I came to the legislature and after being elected in 1992 and began serving in 1993, and one of the first people I met, I knew the minority leader at that time, Bob Burke. Marilyn was the executive secretary in the minority at that time. I came to know Marilyn and we had a nickname for her at that time. There were only 21 of us in the House, and that she was our den mother. And she helped teach the ropes to many, many delegates over the years. She not only was a very dedicated servant of the people of the state of West Virginia, but a tremendous asset to the House of Delegates. I would say this, I looked at a picture of the state Senate as I came in, the current state Senate, and 15 of the members I saw in the picture were former delegates that I'd served with in the House of Delegates that moved on to the Senate. Some before Marilyn moved over to the Senate, and some afterwards. But however, Marilyn was a tremendous asset. I very much enjoyed serving with her, and I wanted to make these remarks today to memorialize her in my mind and her great service for the state of West Virginia. Having served the state government of this state for more than 40 years, she was dedicated. She was always in the office before I came in the Capitol in the morning, and she would stay long after probably I had left the Capitol, and I was known for being in the Capitol a good bit. So she even exceeded my expectations of my work ethic. And that's the kind of person she was. West Virginia lost a great asset with the passing of my friend and colleague, Marilyn Parsons, recently. Many people in the state will never have known Marilyn Parsons, but they will have benefited from her service to the state of West Virginia. I pray for her family and pray for Marilyn as she is transitioned into the next world. Thank you.
I consider myself very lucky as when I came into the West Virginia House of Delegates in 1995, one of the first people that I met was Marilyn Parsons. What a wonderful person she was. Always full of energy, always full of happiness and joy, and a person that could get just about anything that you needed done. She could find a way to do it. Marilyn educated a lot of us young people, first-time legislators coming in, about the true ways of the legislature. People that didn't know Marilyn have really missed a wonderful person in their lives. We will miss you, Marilyn. We really will.
When I was first elected to the House of Delegates, I won a race from a 14-year incumbent. And I didn't know a thing about what I was going to do. So I went to somebody in my community and I said, you know, who can I go to that I can depend on? The advice I get is solid, good advice. And the first words out of their mouth was Marilyn Parsons. She was always there and she gave excellent advice. And sometimes I followed it and sometimes I didn't. And when I didn't follow it, she came back and said, I told you so. But she was a grand person and a great lady. And we're going to miss her. But we know she's in a better place.
31 years ago, I came to the state capitol as a member of the House of Delegates, and I always remember there was one office where there was just a constant buzz of laughter and everybody was smiling faces. And finally I asked, what's in that office? And I was told that it was where the Republican delegates completed their expense vouchers and payroll and things like that. And I was like, why is people always laughing and what's it always so friendly in there? They said there's a lady named Marilyn Parsons in there that everybody here loves. And that will forever be my memory of Marilyn.
I first met Marilyn in 2012 when I was elected into the House of Delegates, and she was a savior. Coming from the country and not being used to the big city, she was the first person I met. She took care. She found a place for me to stay, and she not only became a good friend to me, but my whole family. And not only me, but my whole family loved the lady dearly because she was always happy to see them and made them feel at home, and she's truly going to be missed.
Well, I want to say thank you to Marilyn for 27 years of friendship. And it was certainly an honor to work and serve with her. As I told her many, many times in my career, she always has been and always will be my favorite Republican.
It's been an honor in my life to get to know Marilyn Parsons. When I think of Marilyn, I think of strength, grace, faith, and intuition. And that's the intuition part was incredibly effective for Marilyn here in the Senate, because when you come into the room, Marilyn's in there. She has you pinned. She knows if you're somebody that's trustworthy. She knows if you're telling the truth. She knows that the recommendations that she should give our team that was around here on how to deal with some individuals would come through. And that is such a rare quality to be so accurate as Marilyn always was. But it's honor my life. I'm always going to love that I got to work with Marilyn, and I'm always going to miss her.
Marilyn, I just want to say you was a star in West Virginia, and I know you're a star in heaven, and we miss you. We love you a lot. Bye-bye.
We will all miss Marilyn greatly here in the legislature, both on the House side and the Senate side. I'm Ryan Weld. I spent one term in the House and now here in the Senate when Marilyn came over here to work with us. And to me, Marilyn was the epitome of what it means that when you're here and when you are elected to the legislature, you become a part of a family. When you went into the Speaker's office or here at the President's office, it was almost like you were going to your grandma's house and you were going to go see your grandmother who had forms for you to sign. and business for you to take care of. But that's how it felt with Marilyn. And when you're here for 60 days, it can be a tough situation sometimes. And so she was always that character that helped us feel much better about our day. And she also did an excellent job at her job. She was the epitome of somebody who came to work with a smile and came to work with a purpose and an efficiency to help us get our job done on behalf of the people of the state of West Virginia. We will miss her big smile. We will miss her laugh that I loved very much here in the Senate. And so I know that it will be a tough gap for us to ever fill, and we will all miss Marilyn greatly.
One thing I'll always remember about Marilyn is you could be having the worst day. There's a lot of stressful days running around the Capitol, and you'd walk in to see her, or walk in to see the Senate President, and you would pretty quickly start to feel a lot better. She just always made you feel very welcomed, made you feel like family, regardless of the circumstances, the situation. And that's one thing that I'm always going to remember about her, is how pleasant she was and how kind she was to me.
I interviewed Marilyn Parsons for a job in April of 1983. My executive secretary, I had just become minority leader in the West Virginia House of Delegates, and my the then current executive secretary quit her job, and so I needed a new executive secretary. So I interviewed Marilyn. And it was actually a very interesting interview, because I developed a habit of asking people that I were interviewing for jobs, whether it be a clerk's job or an attorney's job, to take notes during the meeting. That would remind me to go back and, if I circled back with them, if I was interested, I could circle back with them and ask them about the meeting and what their thoughts, and if they had any questions. So I asked Marilyn to take notes on this meeting. And so we were interrupted a couple of times because it was a busy, I think, special session. So I come back at the end of it and I said, "Did you take all the notes?" And she immediately read to me everything that was said during the meeting. She was a great stenographer, and this speaks to her work ethic. She knew exactly every word that I said, including some expletives deleted. Now, she didn't use the words, but she kind of spelled it out to the point where you knew what I'd said, and I'm going, holy cow, that's a pretty good, that's a good skill set to have, because someone comes in and makes a request, a legislator, and she's taking it down. She knows exactly what they asked for. So I hired her on the spot. So that was 1983, and it began a wonderful working relationship and a beautiful friendship for 40 years. She was likable. She was had great strength of character. And I think one of the overlooked things, because sometimes we take people for granted in their jobs, but she was a hard worker. I mean, she didn't know what an 8-hour day looked like. She started to work in the morning, same as everybody else did. But 5 o'clock, the people would gravitate toward downtowns and the receptions, 5:30, whatever. Marilyn's workday just began then. I mean, she would work until 9, 10 o'clock at night. A typical day for her would be closer to 12 hours rather than 8 hours. And that work ethic, if we could multiply her or clone her, we could cut government by 1/3. One of Marilyn's greatest strengths was her strong faith, and she developed that over a period of years. And she didn't shout it from the rooftop, but she clearly was a person of strong Christian faith. And we really sensed that when those of us who went to visit her during her stay in hospice, she was comfortable. And as she said her final goodbyes to everyone and left the surly bonds of earth to touch the face of God, we can be assured that we will see Marilyn Parsons again. God bless Marilyn Parsons.